I'm going to shake here with my brand new XM66F. Of course, this is one of the new Tier 8 premiums coming out of the holiday boxes, and I actually got mine within the first 15 boxes. I was very generously gifted 12 boxes by Juno, who watches my wife's streams, and then I bought 3 for myself, and out of the 15, I managed to snag this vehicle, which that's a pretty big steal for a Tier 8 premium. You know, them normally roughly being $50. And since I actually am a big fan of the T28 Prototype, I had some pretty good expectations for this vehicle. And this just so happens to be my very first game. And while I'm not the biggest fan of the Safe Haven map, it does provide a well-armored tank destroyer that at least has some flexibility to move up and push. It does provide some opportunity to work against the mediums who won't necessarily have the weaponry to punch through with ease. But unlike the T28 Prototype, which I am absolutely going to draw conclusions and comparisons to, because that's the other Tier 8 American turreted tank destroyer that has some armor. But unlike it, the hull on the XM66F is very weak. Like, as in, Tier 6s and 7s will be able to punch through your hull. You're relying 100% on the front of the turret. And the turret on this is actually superior to the T28 prototypes. So, knowing that, and that it has decent gun depression, you should absolutely be looking for hull down positions to get into. And I do in this game. It's right there. I already bounced a shot right off the turret as the enemy SU 130 PM tries to punch right through, but tings. This has decent alpha, not insane. And as you can see, the Lorraine is having no problem with regular ammo punching through the hull. So if you know that going in, just don't expose your hull. For me though, I knew that the Lorraine had to go, so it was well worth it for me to take the hits. Now, by doing so, we have a pretty secure hold over here, as long as my team doesn't get careless. As you can see, myself, the G-SOAR, the Type 59, we're all up forward, supported by the M4 Reveloris, 2 Scorpions, and the T69, who is now pushing in. Now there is a cluster of enemies back there at K2, and we cannot just blindly push into them. But I will make use of the terrain here. These rocks provide good cover. I have a little bit of an incline to work with to hopefully protect the weaker hull. The turret is quite strong, so that's actually something that you can count on quite a bit. And again, a nice 400-ish damage shot, so pretty good alpha, nothing extreme, as should be the case. There's too much of the extreme going on in World of Tanks for the release of new premium tanks anymore. But so far so good. I've exchanged some hit points for a valuable position. I've moved up, and now I am actually up front, except for one reckless Reveloris. Now, unfortunately, I did have to overexpose a little bit there, and I shouldn't have. Now that has dropped me into one-shot territory, and I had to burn the repair kit to get my ammo rack repaired. And I'm also having to be mindful. You're watching me pan the camera around a little bit. I have to be mindful to not overexpose to the Type 63 and T832, because if they're able to glance a shot up here, I would be finished off. I'm also trying myself to see if I can't sneak a shot in on them. So that Type 63 is doing a pretty good job of holding up our heavies. And with a couple of our mediums, the Reveloris, the Type 59, and the T69, all 3 of them, they tried to push in at random times. So now we went from having the advantage over here to being in the deficit. And I'm just poking my turret up. I'm not planning to move up there just yet. Just trying to poke up enough to see if I can't spot somebody leaning over. And of course the first victim was the SU-130 PM. I snagged a good 551 spotting off of that. I managed to also spot the Barask. I'm just going to keep doing this. And if you don't know this position here, you can drive up on these rocks. And here in a second, I actually will be all the way up on it. Again, though, I have to be very wary of the two heavies down there. And you see, I do look to make sure. Do they have shots? And I also don't want to get stuck. And I just keep poking to respot that Barask. And just snagged a 491 spotting off of him, which means one of the Scorpions had hit him. And that 551 must have been a high roll from one of the Scorpions as well. Which does end up being the case. Later in the game, one of the Scorpions has had a very good game himself. I keep poking up and then backing into cover. Now I do this because no matter what vehicle you're in, of course I'm showing off the new XM66F, but if you pull out, expose yourself, and then back into cover, if the sixth sense has went off, even if you didn't spot somebody, somebody had eyes on you. As I finish off the T103, it's just a good thing to learn. Poke out, don't risk, getting yourself destroyed, but poke out, reverse into cover, and wait the 3 seconds that it takes for Sixth Sense to kick off. And if Sixth Sense does go off, and you get the little light bulb and the notification, then somebody's looking at you. Or at least has line of sight. Now I'm just sitting here waiting. Of course, I've poked out so many times, I'm suspicious that somebody might have their gun pre-aimed on me. But that's not the case. The Barask has actually went all the way north. I don't know what prompted him to make that move, because it is a mistake. He has left the SU-130 PM and the MKPZ. They've backed off enough that now I'm able to get some shots in on the heavies. And the new Type 63 has a very odd armor profile at first, but the roof is weak. So when he aims down, I'm actually able to get a shot in there. As you can see, the armor penetration indicator was glancing to green when he tilted his turret down. It's got a very big flat turret, and it's got pretty thin armor on it. Just something to note for the future if you run into one. It has actually a very good gun on it. I ran into a number of them when I played a handful of games with this XM. Which later, we're kind of in a lull in the game here, but I actually have grown to like this XM in the small sample size of games I've played. It would be a very good premium for anybody who is a T28 Prototype fan. Which I've 3-marked the T28 Prototype. I will probably make that a goal for this tank down the road. I actually do like the personal challenge of 3-marking without resorting to premium spam. That seems to be an issue for most. I tend to make it a personal goal that whatever loadout I start with, that's what I use to 3-mark all the way through. So as you see, I started out, I don't fire any premium this game. I had 12 rounds to begin with and 4 rounds of HE. If I do actually go for the 3rd mark, if I go down that journey, this is what I'll use to get it. And I don't run premium food or fuel, because that again, it's part of a personal challenge to run it with a normal loadout and then just use gameplay, improve myself to get it there. But so far, this is just about, I get a couple more shots in. You see me playing cautiously because I am one-shottable for everything that's still left in the game. And as you can see, the gun is actually pretty reactive to snapshots. It's pretty reliable. Um, I'm so used to German guns with horrible soft stats, but very good hard stats. That is something that is the difference. The soft stats are when you're turning, driving, all that, the bloom, the traverse, while under traverse, while driving, all that can contribute to German guns seeming clumsy on the move, but very accurate when fully aimed. This seems to be kind of the opposite. It's pretty comfy, for lack of a better term. As you can see, I'm not even fully aiming. I'm just showing up, kind of quarter or half aiming, and I'm able to hit pretty reliably. I knew that the enemy XM was going to come after me. So I turned and basically shoved my gun and gun mantlet in the way of what I would expect where his shot was coming in, and he actually did ting right off the mantlet. And all that's left is the SU. And they exchange one teammate for the last enemy. That is a win. Actually, a very tight, long game. Ended up being 15-12. My very first game in it was an ace, with a few other ribbons, including the spotter and duelist, fighter, and fire for effect, which you should always be getting those. Means you've dealt your own hit points in damage. And I finished top 3 in damage and XP. As I said, one of the Scorpions had a very high damage game, and there was 3 of us who finished with over 1,000 XP. As you can see, very comfy gun. 11 shots fired, 10 hits, 9 pens. But hopefully you enjoyed the game. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more.